There is a fourth dimension secret to becoming a productive writer who's able to finish large assignments easily. And I'm going to share that secret with you today. I'm Justin Hitt from Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips. It doesn't matter whether you're writing your first book for yourself or maybe to promote yourself, or you're writing a long-form sales letter for a customer. The more organized you are as a writer, the better you'll be at getting that assignment together in a timely manner. And this one secret that I like to share with you is very important and powerful and evidenced in my daily production. Now, I don't do this very often, but I'm going to share with you some of the successes that I have using my methods for more than 22 years. Now, these methods, of course, have evolved as I've invested in my education, as I've used these methods and gained experience. But ultimately, the application comes together quickly. Now, do you need to spend 22 years in order to master these methods and approaches to become a highly productive copywriter or marketer? No, you don't have to spend 22 years, because basically I was a dumbass most of the time and I wasn't using the materials that I learned. If you simply implement what we're talking about today, you'll be on the shoulder of giants and so far ahead in the game. So I have a new book coming out called Establish Instant Credibility. And I'm going to talk about this book particularly as a demonstration on how you can be more productive as a copywriter, especially when you're writing long-form materials such as white papers, technical papers, even ghostwriting books, and how you can prepare for your next assignment starting today. Now, what's important about this is I was able to write an entire book called Establish Instant Credibility. It's about 95 pages when you print it out at a 6x9. So this book is meant to be a kind of an introduction, because one of the things that I can do for clients is I can help them establish instant credibility. So we've chosen a quick title that telegraphs the benefit. And ultimately, the subtitle is Build Authority and Credibility in Any Area of Expertise. Now, how did I put this book together in just a few days? It's going through its final edit right now, and in total, putting it together actually took about 90 minutes. Now, this isn't any magic trick for writing books and reports and large form materials quickly. It's really about the fact that this book started in 2004. So in 2022, I was able to write a book in 90 minutes because in 2004, I started writing on and practicing the methods that build instant credibility. So I learned that you need to dress the part. And if you'd like to dress weird, then your part is weird and you have an engineering mindset and you set up the eclectic engineer persona. If you're clean cut all the time, then you might set up the clean cut senior executive persona. See, all of these types of things come right off the top of my head because I've been writing about them since 2004, almost 20 years. Now, the secret, the insider tip is that whatever newsletter, whatever sales letter, whatever articles you write, everything builds off of outlines to deliver what might be a home study program in the future. So this book's 95 pages, but if I add to it the consulting services and I add to it some worksheets, it becomes a home study kit. So my brain, when I'm producing materials, is not producing a 400-word article. I'm preparing for a section or chapter in a larger form piece of materials, and so that all the writing I do to promote myself as a copywriter becomes fodder for a book or some kind of credibility building resource. Now, the reason I give you the example of the Instant Credibility book is because it's being written right now and it's almost available. There may be a link in the description to show you where you can get a copy of it. But being a productive copywriter is a credible position to be in because you can consistently deliver long-form copy. If you promise a sales letter in 3 weeks and it's 5 weeks later and you still haven't finished a sales letter, maybe you gave them a couple of drafts that they went through and they just weren't happy with, but you're not done yet. That is a sink in credibility. You lose credibility as a service provider, and you will harm the future opportunities. Now, here's a big challenge: is a lot of your clients don't know how long it takes to write a sales letter. They don't know how long it takes to write a book. And I'm telling you, you can write it in 90 minutes. And God forbid they hear that, because they're going to think you can write it in 90 minutes. The secret of what I've done is every newsletter, every special report, every article on the website fits into some kind of outline or some kind of master plan for a book, which I choose to produce in the future. And sometimes it takes 20 years, or almost 20 years in that case. But I am writing around these guidances, these tenets. When you're doing a client assignment, you've got to find that thread in their business where they've already written around something and it works for converting leads. They've already have a theme in their business. Maybe it's their vision statement. And you extract from that the writing assignments for their group. Now, there can be a conflict here. Sometimes they want to go in a new and vibrant new direction, or they want to take a different approach. If you are keeping track of these approaches as kind of a value add, you can either build across multiple clients, or you can build across a single client this threaded material in order to produce a larger report. So what I'm saying in this is, if a client has you do a couple lead generation campaigns, you can compile those lead generation campaigns into a sales letter. Now, they don't compile straight through. So the article I wrote on the website that's now a section in a book isn't the same article anymore. It has to mature over time. It has to improve. And so when we write, speaking of being a productive copywriter, we actually use software revisioning tools like GitHub in order to store all of our writing, in order to be able to see the differences over time, but to be able to, with confidence, edit. Now, if you don't have GitHub or any kind of software revisioning platform, you can simply have at the end of the document what's called a change log. And it's basically a table that you can keep track of what changes have been made. My biggest point is that an article evolves over time, either to become short form materials or part of a home study kit or a larger form letter. Just as lead generation pieces and headlines can become a sales letter, and a sales letter can be digested into headlines, fascinations, bullet points, all those different things. So what we're doing is we're building our grand, our Amazon bestseller. We're building it every day in all the work that we're doing. So for example, if you specialize in lead generation, you're going to have on your website articles about why lead generation is important, what mistakes people make with lead generation, what companies benefit from lead generation. You're going to have some case studies about your customers and the work that you've done with them so that they benefited from lead generation. And then over 5 years or 4 years or even 10 years, you're going to be able to write a book on lead generation. You're going to be able to write a book combining all those materials, stitching them together with the characteristics that makes a good book, and ultimately you'll have a 700, here's the big problem. I've been doing this for a long time. You may end up with 700 pages, and you'll have to find the thread in those pages so that you get it down to like a normal bookstore size. Now, my last book, How to Increase Sales and Profits, was 500 pages. I'm not confident that readers are going to sit down and read 500 pages these days. That's why I established instant credibility. I'm producing that a little bit early. And as it comes out a little bit earlier, it will be about 95 to 112 pages. So somebody can sit down and read that pretty easily. Now, I have another book called Your First Copywriting Assignment. And this is a book written for copywriters who have not yet gotten an assignment. And you might be saying, well, Justin, you specialize in copywriters that are somewhat established, copywriters that are going from freelance to small agency. Why would I need my first copywriting assignment? Well, this book includes all the answers I've given to copywriters who've written and said, I like to be in copywriting, but I don't have any clients. How do I get started? And what I ended up doing with that is, once I had the outline and a handful of articles on that topic, I actually started to do basically audio programs about it. So a lot of my podcasts get transcribed and they become chapters. So in this particular one, I have a section in the front, which is a special report And this again, this is your first assignment as a copywriter. This first section here is a special report that combines maybe 4 articles, and it actually does say article draft here, but it's probably I don't know 30 pages, and it says prove your copy ability. So this was a number of articles that are put together to become a special report to sell an actual other report. Now your first copy is kind of built on the concept of like your first pair of pull-up pants, your first bicycle. And the reason I did this is because I was getting a lot of questions, even though these people were not target audience for me. I got a lot of questions from just rank beginners. I'm learning how to write copy. How do I get my first assignment? Can I just copy someone else's sales letter? How do I build a portfolio? I put all of that in a book starting in 2013 called Your First Copywriting Assignment. And it's currently 22,000 words. So I wrote a special report to promote another report. And all of that's been content that you've been getting over the years. Can you see how this works? So you're not writing today's piece for today only. You have to think about how to make it evergreen and how to make it fit into a larger picture. Now, if you're a copywriter or a marketer who's doing business for anybody, if a warm body shows up and you put a mirror in front of their face and they breathe on it, it kind of fogs up a little bit, and you're like, that's my perfect customer, then this system isn't going to work for you, because you're going to be writing all over the place. But most of the people I work with, there may be like a software engineer who wants to do copywriting to promote software as a service products. They might be a farmer who's doing copywriting to attract people to a cooperative, which is kind of an ecotourism cooperative that provides the farmers food. So I do a lot of work for co-ops, for larger businesses, and in that case, those materials are themed. So you might know that I have Prosperity Homestead, which actually has a lot of environmentally themed topics. A lot of times I'll do research for a sales letter or a marketing piece for a client in the environmental topic area. I'm also getting a Master Naturalist certification here in Virginia. All the content around those concepts are published at Prosperity Homestead. I use my topic testing method to figure out which topics are most popular to the audience, and then I start compiling. I start with an outline or a book proposal, and then I can extract from my body of work in order to produce another book. Now, I am in a situation where I have so many books in draft that I don't need to do that anymore. So this first copywriting assignment, I picked it up here. It's in a 3-ring binder, and I noticed that the transcription doesn't have any page breaks and looks like it needs editing. So this particular book, it's not a priority right now because, again, the majority of the subscribers on this newsletter have gotten a couple assignments. And getting your first assignment is more of confidence than anything else. But my point being is that maybe 5 years down the line, maybe 10 years down the line, I'll be able to publish with the credibility of having talked about the topic for years. I'll be able to publish a book on how you can get your first copywriting assignment. Because what that is, and here's another point I want to leave you with, is after they have their first copywriting assignment, then they're qualified to do business with me. Do you see how that works? I don't want to work with a copywriter who can't even get their first job. There's a lot of very quality resources out there if you're a rank amateur copywriter and you've never written copy before and you're just struggling to get words on the page and get a client. There's plenty of resources for that. I focus specifically on people who've gotten their first couple assignments and they're ready to make a business of this. They're ready to look at how are they producing copy? What methods do they use for research? So I've been loading I loaded 22 years of the text files that I had. That were, we talk about this in another podcast. All the stuff I've written is in text, and then I sometimes will go into Word or something like that, but I haven't converted those yet. But all the text stuff got converted into Markdown and is now in a knowledge management system. The last couple of days, I've been taking all my OneNote notes, 4,800 of them and converting them to Markdown and putting them into the knowledge management system. And then probably next month, I'll convert all my Word documents and Open Office documents and WordPerfect documents. And, I've been doing this for a while. But long story short is, if you're interested in how to organize your working space and how to organize the business of copywriting, I'm here to help you. If you've never gotten a copywriting client, I'll still answer your question, but that's how we build these other materials. You may have noticed all the little ad codes everywhere. I literally code every assignment, every blog post, so that I can then compile a book rather than to write a book. So again, the biggest secret here is once you start seeing a theme, you're going to put together a really quick book proposal. Bob Bly talks about book proposals. He's got really good resources for that. Or you're going to have some kind of outline that's designed to be a home study program. So if you've done services in a certain area, if you've done assignments in certain areas, those case studies become part of a home study program. All of the how-to, literally teaching someone how to do your job, all that goes into a home study, but you don't focus on the home study. You focus on getting the leads and getting the sales who are predisposed to buy that kit. So a lot of folks, when they're starting their agency, they bring on copywriters as independent contractors, and those copywriters are, this is a dangerous thing to do, by the way, but people do it. Those copywriters are responsible for their own book of accounts, or they're responsible for finding their own accounts. Well, your first assignment not only talks about how to find clients, it also talks how to set up the job so that you can deliver it on time. And so, some of the aspects of that book are useful to people who are building their agency. I guess the biggest point I'm making is that why wait until you have a big assignment when you could collect and organize your research, collect and organize all the writing you've ever done, collect and organize the things you already have, and then constantly recycle those materials, making them better each time, and then ultimately finding those threads that are of interest to your audience and extracting out a book. If you're able to produce a book once a year, Dan Kennedy does a great job of producing books. Some of his books used to be home study programs. Some of them were speeches. Bob Bly definitely can produce some books. But those books become anchors in the marketplace so that you can be featured in Amazon, so that you can go on radio shows or television shows, so that you can get interviewed, or so that you have a really nice gift to give a new customer when they onboard with your organization. These are things that are value add. These are things that position you as an expert. And these are things that once they're written, all you got to do is revise them. Put a new edition out every couple of years. So I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips, and this has been about how to make more of your work. Not make more work, but every assignment you do fits into one of these outlines. And if you don't have an outline to fit it into, you collect enough materials on that topic and you put it together so that one day you may have somebody come along, and I've had this happen. Somebody come along and say, hey, I'd like you to ghostwrite on such and such a topic. You know something about the topic, ghostwrite on it. I negotiate a mutually exclusive licensing agreement. I ghostwrite for them. Usually it's a ghostwriting for a promotion that they're doing. They get their little book, and then in 5 or 10 years, I add a bunch more material to it, and I could produce my own book. Now, am I going to produce a book on all these little clusters of topics? Not necessarily. I tend to only produce the books I have an audience to sell it to. Because what good is a book if you don't have any customers reading it? But again, that approach is going to save you time. It's going to help you monetize your writing. And it's going to make you an expert in the areas that you're writing. If you have a desire to learn more about transforming your freelance copywriting or your freelance marketing into a small agency so that you can be way more efficient, generate passive income, serve better and bigger clients, and stop bottom feeding off of these job sites where everybody's chasing that next little tiny assignment, and start getting 5-figure, 6-figure, 7-figure opportunities, then you're in the right place. You can visit www.adbriefing.co.uk and ask your questions, and I'll answer them in either a podcast Or I might even send you a manuscript, which is the last thing that I've done, and it works out pretty well. So somebody asks a question, I just send them the manuscript, and they give me feedback on the manuscript, and they get, what might be a $19 book, but they also get their questions answered, and I get another reader for the book. We can go about this all day. We do have coaching programs. We do have hands-on training. Just let me know what you need, because there's no excuse. You need to be at the next level today, and I can help you get there. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next podcast.